Thank you for staying with us. But of course, I still have Felicia Awolope, Investment Research Analyst at Meristem, right here with me. Thank you so much for staying with me, Felicia. All right. So before we went on that timeout, you were talking about how it came about, the accretion, talking about some loans and all of that. I'd like you to wrap up on that, so we'll just move on.
Yeah, so I was saying that also we saw that the FPI inflows into the country have been quite impressive. I mean, following the different monetary policy actions that the CBN has taken, and all of this, are what has contributed to the impressive uptick that we've seen in the country's foreign or external reserves figures that we're speaking about now.
Well, based on what you just said, I intentionally asked you that question because I wanted you to say it yourself. Now, on a year-to-date basis, Nigeria's reserves surged by 12.99%, or what you would say $4.29 billion from the $33.02 billion recorded at the start of the year. That was January 2nd, 2024. Now, looking at what we have now, which of course is $37.31 billion, how much of this accretion is debt? You've tried to talk about it anyway. So do you think this is sustainable? Seeing a good percentage of this is actually made up of debt instruments. How sustainable is this?
I mean, like you mentioned, it's not ideal, or it's not the best practice that the huge or the major proportion of the foreign exchange or the foreign external reserves is made up of debts. But at the point where Nigeria is currently, we know that there are still ongoing issues with the country's revenue. I mean, it would be a very very good thing for the country if we're able to improve our foreign exchange revenue, foreign exchange income for the government through oil, through other sources, because this would relieve the dependency on just debt to improve external reserves when we see that, we're coming low on reserves and there's the need to actually improve on reserves figures.
Well, will you say this increase in foreign reserves has sort of helped Naira volatility in any way? Has it helped the Naira, which of course Bloomberg just dubbed, one of the 10 worst performing currencies globally?
I mean, thank you. So ideally, right, improvements in the external reserves would mean that the central bank has, more capacity to intervene in the exchange rate market. There's especially with the liquidity problems that the Nigerian exchange market, foreign exchange market is characterized with. But seeing that, I would say the intention of or the purpose of floating the Naira is to make the value of the Naira market determined. So we've seen that the CBN is not just coming all the time to intervene in the foreign exchange market. The CBN is trying to, make, allowance for the forces of market to still determine the prices to a level. But when they see that the Naira is about to cross a certain threshold that they are, would I say, comfortable with, then we see them come to the market and maybe sell dollars to the BDCs or even, organize auctions to sort of relieve the pressure on the foreign exchange market.
I like what you just said. Now, that brings me to, something that the CBN governor, Olayemi Cardoso, said in February 2024. He was trying to explain that the exchange rate pressure is largely driven by two key factors, actually. Number one, a reduction in the availability of the US dollars and an increase in demand. Now, these are the two key issues we're looking at here. What are your suggestions for solving this twin problem? I guess we're going to close on this.
I mean, just like you mentioned, when you're speaking to the supply side, which is the availability of dollars, what are the sources of dollars into the country? Currently, for Nigeria, we know that as a country, our major source of revenue or foreign exchange revenue still remains oil. And so when we see fluctuations in oil prices globally, it of course tells on the level of revenue that the federal government is able to make. Also, we know that, foreign inflows in form of FPIs, FDIs, remittances, and all these things are things that are responsible for the inflows and the supply of foreign exchange in our foreign exchange market. So, of course, policies that could improve these things would be, the next best thing to do when we want to make sure that there is enough supply of the dollar at the foreign exchange market. Like we've seen policies to improve remittance processes, policies to improve the attractiveness of this country as investment destination for foreign investors, and also the fiscal policy trying to improve our oil production volumes so that even oil revenue is improved significantly, and that would speak to the supply side. And for the demand side, then that comes to the needs that people have for foreign exchange. Of course, to address this, we have to go structural. There's a need to actually improve production within the country so that there's not much need for dollar. As long as there's increasing need for the dollar, people need dollar to transact, people that need to travel, people that are trying to, pay for medical services and all these things. As long as there's this heightened demand for dollars, it will always, the pressure for dollar would always remain in the foreign exchange market. So yes, like a simultaneous address of the supply side, making sure that there's enough liquidity you get in the foreign exchange market, and then making sure that there's a reduction in the demand for dollar. The two things need to work hand in hand for us to see like a significant and a lasting relief in the foreign exchange markets. And I'm speaking to the pressures that we've been seeing there.
Felicia Awolope, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts on the show today. Right, I've been speaking with Felicia Awolope, that's Investment Research Analyst at Meristem Securities Ltd.